I could have made a very easy film and maybe still a fairly workable film and sensitive film if I would have just taken Asha Bhosle and Gulzar Saab. It would still have been a very nice film, and I had that in mind. But I thought that my anger would go back to that Bali Sagu remix, credit line, and the news channels showing 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I said that somebody has to start documenting. Somebody has to make a film that works, And of course, I started with an image, which was that if I get all the people that R.D. Burman could have did work with, who are alive, and already there were, Anand Bakshi was not there, Majroor Sultanpuri was not there, Goldie Anand was not there, Mahmood was not there, Gogi was not there, yeah. So there were about 7, 8 very, very prominent names who was not there anymore. And I thought that it's not a very nice thing, because the people who has worked with him should be the best people who could, yes. And I structured it in a way, I interviewed them in a way that I could actually create a narrative out of that. And I think that was, to some extent, my plan, which worked at the end. I remained very faithful to what I set out with. Of course, my own understanding of his music grew when I spoke in detail with all these people who had worked with him. And to take these 3-4 people like Vishal Bharadwaj, Shantanu Moitra, Shankar Hassan Loy, were entirely from the perspective that I respect them a lot in their musical prowess and understanding. And I thought that it would be nice, even though they did not quite work with Panchamda, but they could be very instrumental in interpreting Panchamda musically. And I think that in whatever festivals it has worked, and whoever come and talk great things, one of the things that I find seems to have gone in favor of the film is that people come out with a musical experience of how he would create and what kind of a man he was. So about 3,000 hours of editing on the table, which is about 5 feature film length, edit time, but and about 30 sections, but nobody gets to know as sections because it's stitched, tried to weave it absolutely seamlessly, one thing flowing into another, and never to dwell too much on anything. That was one of my attempts. Also because I had so many things to say. So I had to, I was thinking of an hour and a half at best, but it went off a little. I was very worried. I had all the insecurities. And before I was sending, it got asked for by a festival, someone who saw it because there was some news about it, said, can I see the film? It was in work in progress. And she said, can I courier it to this festival that I consult? I think they would like. I would leave the decision for them. And it went on winning Audience Choice Awards among many other awards. Eventually ended with national award, 2 national awards, and it has continued thereafter. And till date, I think there's no month where the film is not screened. Somewhere or the other, I keep getting invitations. So I have no idea what this film is doing to people. I have 10 standing invitations from different parts of the globe that you don't know what it has done to us. And we'd be very touched if you stay with us and you're our guest if you're ever this part of the... So I think somewhere I now feel that the film does something to people. And the entire effort behind that all was that I take myself out, I put Panchamda and you together. And that's it. And keep it very, very simple in terms of the structural thing. And try and have a narrative. That was my idea, which is why I think you could sustain for almost 2 hours.
One very technical question. How much time did you take to shoot and how much time did you take to edit? Because I'm asking this very specifically because I know you've inserted a certain song which is relatable to his life, and then you move on. It's almost like a chapter, and you see that. And so did this come to you on the editing table, or you had this preconceived idea that this is how you will flow the story?
I had the flow in mind. Like I said, about 80% of what I have here is still what I had. But how it happened was definitely what was evolving on the editing table. And that is where I said that I would try out a couple of things. It wouldn't work for me. And I went entirely, I think, intuitively. What worked for me, I kept. If it won't work for me, I didn't. I mean, how much time it took was about 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, to shoot, about 2.5 years to shoot. I missed out on a few people, and then I gave up on them. And there were people like Rajesh Khanna, there were people like Ramesh Sippy. So about 3, 4 people like that who I tried my best, and something or the other was happening. I think they intended well, but something or the other was not working. And at the end, when I apologized to myself and to a few people who said this is great, I said that I couldn't get, and they said that look at your hit rate. I think it's marvelous to get this. Then I started receiving messages from people who were working on other such films that who was your celebrity coordinator, and I would text them back, Brahmanand Singh, because I couldn't even let my assistants talk to them, because everybody who spoke to me needed to know about it. And then there were many who were trying to be difficult, in the sense that, okay, you tell me what questions you have asked others. If they have answered, then I'll answer other questions. And then I had to tell them how I make films, and that I do not make films on question answers. It's conversations, and I weave the narrative in a way where, so they understood. They saw a couple of other works, and I think it worked for them. But 2.5 years, because I put in my own finances into it, and that was again a very deliberate choice. It was not that I had a lot of money and I could go on, but I knew that the moment I would go and get it commissioned from someone, there would be 10 people who would tell me, R.D. Burman, fantastic, great, go ahead, do it. How much money? This much money, fantastic. And your call, everything your call, they will tell me. And then when it came to actual calls, they will say that isko aise nahi, thoda aise karte hain, isko bhi include karte hain, usko bhi include karte hain, isko aise nahi, aise karte hain. So, and I thought that happens day in and day out. Yes. And I realized that let me avoid that, because I feel whenever I've done something like this, it works for me. Whenever I go by what others want, and I'm open to ideas, and I mean, even this film I showed to people, but I'm not very comfortable about making someone else's film at the end of it, and I'm sure nobody is. So, and whoever makes it, and it invariably becomes a khichdi, and it doesn't remain anybody's film. So at least here, like, one person needs to be happy. So it starts there.